Imagine you waking up tomorrow and all your favorite social media is gone. The government has restricted access to the internet. Sound like a scary movie, but that was my reality. Just like that, overnight, the business that I built that was generating $30,000 a month was gone because my whole audience was wiped out by the government will. And I didn't panic. I used the exact subconscious framework that I've been using and studying for over 7 years to start it from the scratch in America. And I put all this system together in the short booklet, no BS, completely free, that you can grab. Down there by link below, you just drop your email and I'll send it for you for free. It's very interesting for people who's interested in the emotional processing, into subconscious mind, because that's what I've been doing for 7 years. It's free, grab it, and now let's keep going. Imagine people living in the country and you're using your social media. People build businesses around it. People build, the personal brand around it. People are depending on the social media to do business. And you have a tyrant in the government. You have a king that doesn't want anything that makes sense to penetrate the society. And they just say, you know what? We're going to restrict the Instagram, we're going to restrict YouTube, we're going to ban, prohibit every social media that is not controlled by us. And they did it. This circus is impossible to imagine in America. That would never happen, even in the wildest dream. But in the third world countries, the shitholes, that is the reality. And the shithole that I came from is not the only shithole that does it. For example, people in China have their own internet. They have their own games and they're not allowed to go and surf the internet. Why? Because communism. Why? Because of dictatorships. Why? Because it doesn't make sense for the government to let people know the truth. Because you know what happens when people are able to see how the other people live outside that little shithole that they are, they start to get perspective and they start to understand that, okay, it can be better. It can be completely different. And if you are the tyrant government, right, the crooked government, you don't want that to happen because people will start leaving and you want to keep all your stocks inside your farm because you need those people to work, to serve in the military, you need those people to die for your country, you need those people to pay taxes, right? And if they see that somewhere over there, behind the ocean, is much better life than inside the place that they are right now, they'll start wanting to go there, and some of them will leave. So when you're a dictator, you don't want that. And that's what's been happening in Russia, that's what's been happening in the China, a long time. Now it's happening also in the United Kingdom. Because, for example, I was very surprised when I've seen that in the United Kingdom, people are actually getting sentences and go to jail for posts and tweets criticizing politicians, criticizing the way they rule the country. And I was like, oh my God, so Russia is not the only third world piece of shit country, okay? Turns out the United Kingdom is a third world piece of shit country too, because they can put you in the jail for criticizing government. What type of motherfucking circus is that? This is insanity, right? I understand countries like Uganda, countries like, I don't know, another African countries, poor countries, where it's just nothing there but war and, corruption. But the United Kingdom were supposed to be one of the greatest countries in the world, right? The great empire that was there once. And now it's just a joke, right? So they trying to put people to jail for commenting something, which is impossible in America. Literally, you have the First Amendment right? We have the First Amendment right. And it's unbelievable. Can you imagine telling person from Russia, for example, that you can freely speak what you want? Or people in China tell them that you can freely speak what you want. They will be scared to speak. They will not believe you and they will not speak freely. They will always be in fear. Why is that? Because fear is the simplest emotion to invoke on people. And while people are in fear, you can control them better. And that's unfortunately what the most countries are going for. That's how most of the other countries are ruling their people. They're ruling through fear. And I think that approach is very outdated because it just doesn't work. What works is capitalism. What works is the freedom. That's the only thing that works. And if you look at America is very far, ahead of everything that exists there. So I don't know how much thousands of years have to pass for all the other clown shows countries to realize, okay, maybe the shit that we're trying to do is not working. And rather than building some type of bullshit capital or bullshit communism or bullshit socialism that doesn't work, we instead gonna build the capitalism. Because you know what? Russia actually had capitalism for about couple years. And they couldn't do nothing with it. And what happened is that, let's say, so you understand, I'm gonna tell you what happened with Russia and how that all, king empire happened again. So what happened is there was a small percentage of oligarchs and people that are wealthy and powerful. And after the USSR fell apart, people who had resources and was kind of controlling the, Russian CIA, those people used that Russian CIA and basically seized the control. Imagine if that would happen in America. I don't think there would be a lot of good stuff going on around the world if the CIA would take over, the country and rule the country. But that's what happened in Russia. And it's not like the Russian CIA were as good guys. Those are thugs, okay? Most of them are thugs. And they seized, those people that are, in the government right now. For example, the king himself was, back in the days when he was serving in the Russian CIA, he was actually helping the terrorists in Germany. So there was two Germanys. One of them was communistic Germany and the other one was, free Germany. And that guy, we all know who we're talking about, he was there sponsoring and helping with the, guns and explosives to terrorists. And now he's a king of that country. So what I'm saying is that a lot of other countries are, going by the same direct playbook. For example, Cuba. If you didn't know, Cuba, it's a failed state completely. It's a failed nation, failed country. And in Cuba, you don't really have a government there anymore, right? You only have, it's called like a private military group. There was a private military group that is still there, that is in control of the whole island. So it's basically mercenaries, people who are, living by war. They have guns, they have power, they have some resources, so they just seize the control of the island and they control everything. That's the situation in Cuba, and it's been like that for a long time. Very much alike situation is in Russia. Very much alike situation is in China. And there's, dozens of other countries that you can count, and there's this exactly same situation. And it never works. So it's basically like living in the hell. Because imagine you have a war people trying to rule the country. And what they do, they never try to multiply, they never try to grow nothing, they never try to, actually do good and create something that works. What they're trying to do is just seize everything and enrich themselves. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter how the other people going to feel like. It doesn't matter what is going to lead in the end. As long as I'm rich in my lifetime, I can run everything down and ruin everything. That's their mindset. And if you see around the globe, it's usually those countries that are either communistic or socialism. That's two very, very dangerous and toxic ideas that has to be like eliminated from the minds of the people. Because I've seen the statistic, and the statistic shows that apparently some people in America, especially young people, they're in favor of communism, they're in favor of socialism, they're not in favor of capitalism. Well, I'll tell you what, you have to get that crap out of your head as quick as you can, because communism never works, okay? All the countries that are trying to be communistic, they failed, and they failed big time. And all the people that try to be communistic, they poor, they struggle, and they live in the worst type of lives you can imagine, okay? There is not a single country where communism would work, because communism is shit, okay? It's very easy to buy into communism when you are an imbecile, because what they tell you is that everything is going to be free. You're going to have a free house, you're going to have a free, healthcare, free food, and it sounds good. But it only sounds good if you are an imbecile, because nothing is free in this world. When those people, they tell you about the communism and they tell you how amazing it is, imbeciles are going to buy into that, they're going to vote for that person, and statistically, there are more imbeciles than not imbeciles, okay? So that person going to get the majority of the votes. Now they're going to get communism up and running, and guess what? Within a couple years, all the economy is going to be run down into ground. Everybody is going to be equally poor, but the government. Because the communism, what they sell you is that we're going to be all, equal. There is no such thing as an equality in this world, all right? We can be equal as a human beings, that we are both have rights, which is a luxury, right? For the people that come from outside, like me. I enjoy this luxury. I have human rights finally. I have, freedom of speech. I have, a lot of stuff I have, and I love that. And you're not going to able to have that anymore, and you're not going to have your money. You're not going to be rich. But the only people who will be rich are those who's in the government. Because guess what? I'll tell you that crap, that everything is free, and you buy into that. But what the government actually does in meanwhile, they seize all the assets from the people for themselves. And now they have all the money in the country, and you have nothing. I'm from the country that it happened, okay? I know what I'm talking about. Communism is bullshit. It's complete crap for imbeciles. And the socialism is the same thing too, because socialism is basically the same fucking communism in the different wrap. And it doesn't work. Look at the Europe. Europe is failing. The whole Europe is basically falling apart. I don't know what they're going to do with the Europe, because it's just such a big mess, and they need at least like a couple of years to fix it. But because they over regulative there, and they have a lot of stupid laws and a lot of stuff that is, it's kind of alike how, for example, I just mentioned it earlier, that Russia and United Kingdom is actually alike, which is very crazy in my opinion, right? Imagine one country is tyrant run country, the empire. The guy was there for, when I was born, he was already there, okay? So he's just there, and he's putting people into the jail for posts, for tweets, for using those social media that he banned. Can you imagine that in Russia, for example, if you use Instagram or you use Facebook, you can go to jail just for using it. just for using a VPN, you're gonna get to jail. There are people that went to jail because of using VPN. How about that? And now the United Kingdom doing the same shit. So for me, that is the sign of weakness, of the failure. It's like, all right, we failed big time. Now we have to silence people that are talking. That's insanity to me. So if the United Kingdom is at the same level that Russia is, it means that it's garbage, okay? It's all big garbage. And it's very sad because United Kingdom once was a great country and they, had a lot of influence and, they did a lot for the economy. But now it's just been, for the whole time that I've been growing up, it never occurred to me that I want to go to United Kingdom or, even somehow experience United Kingdom. Because from everything I've seen, it was not much better than Russia, not much better. It's the same problem of drug addiction there. It's the same poverty there, but it's just in the European wrap. I don't want that, Growing up and looking at America, that was the great thing, and it's still the greatest thing. I love America with all my heart. I've been born American, but I've been born in a different country. But I've been born American in my heart. And I love this country since I was a child, and I wanted to be here. And now I'm blessed, and I'm here, and I live here. And I'm so happy that I'm here. Because nowhere else in the world I would want to be. Nowhere else. Everything else is a clown show. I cannot even, put as much stress on how much the rest of the world the clown show is for you people that have been born Americans. Because if you truly think that there's anywhere else is better than America, I dare you, I challenge you to go to that country for a week, for 2, for 3 months. Try and experience it firsthand. Because a lot of people actually, they are agreeing with me, especially older, wiser people that are been around the world. They've been around the world, they've seen it with their own eyes, and they say I'm right. And I know I'm right, because I've been around the world too. And I've seen that. And I talk to people who've been there. And I'm telling you, everywhere else is hell. In the most of the countries, it's hell. There is maybe 10 countries that are trying to be as good as America is. They're still very far behind, but they're trying. I don't think living there would be so bad. But it's the very small percentage. The rest of the world is screwed. So imagine, you having a business. I'm gonna tell you the other story. I know the guy. He built a huge bank in Russia. And to build a bank, you have to be a really, really smart person. It's not like a simple task to build a bank, right? So he built a bank, and the bank was, it wasn't a government bank, it was a private bank. And it was a very successful bank that I've been using, other people have been using. It was like the top bank. If you want a banking in Russia, that was the top bank. So what happened is, when that business grew to the certain point where it became like really influential and really big, you know what happened? Tax from government came and seized the business from the guy. They squeezed him out of his money. They squeezed him out of the business. Basically, they make him give them business away. If there's somebody gonna come with a gun and put a gun to your head and tell you that you have to, give us the business or we're just going to shoot you, you will most likely give away the business. So he gave away the business and he left to other country. There's another guy that was living nearby my block, and the guy built very successful chain of the markets, like grocery stores, right? Very successful. Like, let's say you have a Target here in America, but that was like a Target in Russia, right? Smaller, scrawnier, cheaper, but it was a chain. And it was a very successful chain. And I remember I was growing up and that chain was, appearing everywhere. And that guy made billions of dollars. He's a billionaire, right? So he became very successful, very big, very influential. You know what happened? Guess what happened? Government came and took off everything from him. They took off his business from him and they tell him, you know what? You have to just go retire. If you want to still alive, just go retire and give us the business and you're gonna be all right. So guy had to give away the business, and as far as I know, he got sick with cancer. I don't know if he's alive still, but he was living not so far from me. Like I could have get on the bike and drive around and go to the area where he was living, but it was fully secured. You cannot like really walk there. So when that happened probably when I was about 15, 16 years old, I realized that I have no hope in this shithole. I have nothing going on for me here, even in the best case scenario. If I'm going to build a super successful business, become a billionaire, spend 20, 30 years building it, they're going to come and take it away from me. So I said, you know what? There is no way for me making here. It doesn't make sense for me to even like be here, you know? So I had to leave, and I left to Jamaica, and it was one of the best literally moves that I could have pulled off. And not the best move I pulled off is moving to America. That's the best move I ever did, because you know, when you're moving from the shithole like Russia to Jamaica, it's still amazing, okay? It's still so great because you're finally actually free. But Jamaica is still the third world country, and it's hard, you know, it's hard, it's very expensive. You guys don't really understand how expensive it is. And you've been crying that, you know, America is expensive. I'm telling you, Jamaica is more expensive than America. Jamaica is more expensive in groceries. Jamaica is more expensive in the light bills. Jamaica is just more expensive overall by any means. For the cars you have to pay twice. The electricity, it's, you know, people are paying $1,000 for the electricity just for running the AC, you know, daily. You cannot run AC daily in Jamaica. So people over there, they work hard, but they still poor because the cost of living is very high. Even though the rent is not as high as in America, the rest of everything is so high, and they make much less money. So even being there was amazing, because finally I have an opportunity to talk with people. I have an opportunity to socialize. I have an opportunity for, you know, to work something out and be somebody, and that's what I did. You know, my mental framework that I've been using, this Hypnogenesis, that's what I've been, you know, clutching. That's what made me not just survive in Jamaica, but actually become wealthy. Because in Jamaica I was living the top life. I was considered a rich guy. I kind of, you know, completed the, you know, the main character, the main, how you call it? Like in the movie, right? You have a, the word is just escaping from my mind. I cannot tell you the word. So, but I completed the campaign. Let's say the campaign in Jamaica was completed. I've become successful. I've become rich, and there's nowhere to grow there, you know. But still, even when you're there, it's much better than in Russia, and I bet it's much better than in United Kingdom, because I had people who left United Kingdom and they just living in Jamaica, and they don't want to go back. A lot of European people, a lot of people from Italy that run away from Italy and they never come back there. A lot of people from other European countries. You have some Americans, but Americans don't really like living there like long term. They come there, they spend maybe a couple months, maybe 6 months, and they go back to America. Why? Because America is amazing, all right? America is the best country in the world. If you don't like America, I will keep calling it out. Go fuck yourself. America is the best country in the world, with the best people in the world, with the best groceries, the best food in the world, best prices in the world, best opportunities in the world, best women in the world. You have everything you want here. Everything. You have so many options that is, if you're not utilizing them, you are missing out. And I've been talking about it. Imagine, for me, like, I grew up in Russia, where common sense is restricted. The common sense is something that you're not allowed to talk because it gets people angry, okay? They all live in the illusion, and if you try to shake this illusion, they're going nuts, all right? So I've been growing up basically with a lot of mental people around me, and I had an idea. I knew since I was a child that something is going on here. It's not right. The people cannot be that stupid. It's impossible. I'm the child, and I understood it at 5 years old. Okay, I've been just, you know, observing that madness and thinking that maybe something's wrong with me. That it cannot be that I'm good and everybody else is mad. Turns out that was the case. So growing up in the reality like that, I got very, very interested in the ways that people think, in the ways that their mind work. Because my father was giving me some strange attitudes all the time and I couldn't understand why it happened. You know, my mother, my grandmother, my, you know, people that I know, my family, my friends. So I started digging into that because I realized that if I want to go somewhere and I want to be somebody, I cannot be like these people. And I've been raised by those people. So that's how my all this knowledge about subconscious mind and reprogramming and the ways your belief works and stuff, this hypnogenesis came up. It came up because I've been trying to help myself. And I did. And then I went to Jamaica, and in Jamaica I did even more work. And you know, I let go of those, I call it the destructive programs. Because when you are in Russia, they brainwash you with a lot of bullshit. And that bullshit is beliefs. So they brainwash and they try to install the beliefs that make you that, you know, Soviet type of guy or a gal. And that particular software that they put in your brain, it makes you invalid. It makes you almost handicapped. Because if you try to, even if you get the money and you left Russia, the Russia is still in your head. Okay? That's why you see a lot of people who, even they left Russia a long time, they still Russians. They in America, they still Russians because those beliefs, they sit so deep that those people, they just kind of continue to living their Russian lifestyle, but in the other country. I didn't want that. I knew since I was a child that I want to be successful. I knew that I want to be the billionaire because I've seen once a mega yacht and I realized that's what I want. I was 5 or 6. And then I, you know, figured out how much it's worth and realized I cannot be nobody but be billionaire to afford that. So I had to change my mindset once. In Jamaica, if you know Jamaican people, they're unique. I love Jamaican people, right? I wish I knew more cool Jamaicans that are wealthy and rich because, you know, they're just cool people. They're amazing. I love them with all my heart. So in Jamaica, I had to kind of work on myself even more because now I'm in a different environment with different people. And I tell you that I felt more home in Jamaica than I was feeling in Russia. Because in Russia, I always felt misplaced. I always felt like I'm in completely wrong area. Like I wasn't even supposed to be born there, but I was born there, all right? So it felt wrong all my life. Now I'm in Jamaica. Jamaica feels right. Jamaica feels amazing. So I did a lot of different stuff. I become wealthy. I become known in Jamaica. I've been in the modeling, you know, show. I've been in the modeling, how do you call it, the catwalks thing. I've been in the commercials. I've been to the different type of things, and I get to know different people that are wealthy in Jamaica, like very wealthy, like not the wealthiest, like billionaires, but people that have multiple dozens of millions of dollars. And I get to know them, and they're amazing people. They all grown, they're all old school, but they are amazing. And then moving from Jamaica to America, I also had to work on my, you know, on my subconscious, on my beliefs, because you cannot just stay the same person and move the environment. I don't believe in that. I believe that environment changes around you if you become a different person. It's like oil. If you drop an oil into the water, no matter how hard you mix it, the oil will always flow up and it comes up together. So that's the same thing that happens. When I was in Russia, I had to build my character and become a person that is no longer fits the environment. Fits the environment no longer to the point that it squeezes you out just like the water squeezes out the oil. And the same thing happened in Jamaica, where You know, I made it, but then I become so advanced in the way that I'm no longer fitting here as well. And I moved here. And now here, I'm working on myself. I'm making myself better every day. Why? Because I know that if you want to be successful, it's all about what you think is truth about yourself and life. It's all about your beliefs. It's all about the way you think. You know, there is a saying, there is two men, and one man thinks he cannot do it, and other man thinks he can do it, and they both right. Okay, so that is it. I know, and I proved, because when I was working with Russians, I helped hundreds of people. You know, I know children, 3 families that named their children in my how you call it, in my name, right? So they called, I know 3 people, 3 families, 3 separate families that call their sons after me because of the impact, I made. And that impact I made was not because I wanted to become rich, but because I wanted to help myself. So I come up with this subconscious programming, the emotional processing, the hypnogenesis that I do. And in Russia there is a lot of people that they needed help. And I built a big successful business, and it was working great until the government decided to shut all the social media down because it no longer serves them. Not only me lost, I've been making, for the past 2 months that I was doing that, it was going great. I was making $30,000 a month, not gross, like clean profit, okay? And it just gone like that, boom. It didn't let me down. I didn't cry, because why? Because I have very, very structural mental framework that works for anyone, especially it works for the people who are entrepreneurs, people who are CEOs. For example, one time I've been working with a guy. He is the very big businessman in Moldova. So his name is Ion Banari, and he's the owner of the company Valent. It's Valent. And this is a company that they do windows in the Europe. And that company worth well over 5 million euros. And I worked with him personally because he had problems where he got into existential crisis. And he is the CEO, and the whole business is on him. And everything started to go downhill, the sales plummet. He's not feeling well. He was at the stage where he's taking the cup and looking at this cup and saying, why does this cup exist? So that was his mental situation. I worked with him, and since that day, it was probably about 4 years ago, we're still good friends today. We're still good friends. Because first month after we started working, first month, his revenue increased 300%. Can you imagine what 300% of the revenue for the business is? It's a lot. And the only sole reason that he was missing is his mental state. Mental state is very important. That's what I'm saying, that if you are truly in your best mental state, nothing can stop you. There is now no such thing that you cannot do, all right? I truly believe if I'd wanted to become an astronaut, or I'd wanted to become a greatest UFC fighter, or I'd wanted to become a greatest rapper in the world, or the movie star, or whoever I'd put my mind to be, I would achieve that. I genuinely believe that. And I think that more people should believe that, because that's how you build very great society, And the only way to do it is through working with your subconscious mind, with your beliefs, with what you know is right for you, And this is another thing. That's why, for example, we have this people in America who's complaining, who doesn't like America, who's always bitching about this and that, and you guys call them liberal tards or whatever, You don't even consider them Americans, and I understand why. But I challenge you to see that movement from a different perspective. All those people that are, they complaining that is bad for them, whatever, they've been oppressed, they've been this and they've been that, and it's such an, unfair situation in the world. All those people have an emotional trauma that leads back to the childhood, where certain things happened that made them believe what they believe right now. Whatever was that, some painful experience that made them believe they are victims by any means. So now what happens when you believe you are a victim? You are not able to actually perform. You are waiting for somebody to rescue you. And as they say, a person has 2 birthdays. First birthday is when he's actually being born, and the second birthday is when he realized that nobody is going to save him. Okay? When you realize that, when you finally let go of that victimhood mentality and you realize that nobody is going to help you, no government, no Uncle Sam, no mama, no papa, no brother, no sister, no friend is going to actually help you, and that's your responsibility to help yourself and help your family. And it's all on you, and it's all your fault. Now, then the life changes, all right? Then everything changes, and then you can actually finally work with life. You can build a life. You can become great, I'm the living proof of that. And I have other people that did the same, I have some people that, for example, using my framework, they left Russia, they moved to the third country, and they just set up themselves there, and they're still living there, But because of all that crap with the social media and stuff like that, I couldn't anymore rely on that. I just had to let it go. And a lot of people, they would be very scared to do that. I did a lot of scary stuff in my life. If you think about that, it's not like I'm doing dumb scary stuff, like jumping from the bridge into the water, or I don't know, laying down under the train on the rails and let it pass by. I don't do stupid shit like that, But I did a lot of scary shit that is very beneficial, because for example, just to give up all your family, your friends, everything, and move from your home country to the country where I didn't know a single person, like that. It takes balls, like big ones. Not a lot of people would do that. I went there, I did that. Another thing, I succeeded in the other country, by working completely online with people, That's another thing that is not a lot of people can do. Most of the people, they need stability, but stability is actually an illusion. Nothing is stable, to be honest with you. It's just an illusion. They want stability, they need work, I find the ways to, manifest the money in this world, because it's not so hard if you open your brain, you open your mind. It's not so hard, actually. Money is not as hard as you think it is. It's just what you believe about yourself and the money that stops you from actually doing that, A very common thing in Russia and those countries where people are coming and take everything from you when you become successful is they are afraid of money. They are afraid of success. I'm telling you straight, like I worked with dozens or hundreds of people who had this fear, and they've been sabotaging themselves the way they reach certain success, certain amount of money they start making. They sabotage themselves because, for example, from the shithole that I came from, thugs can come and take away everything from you if they want, and those thugs are the government, okay? So people are afraid. They know that, okay, if I'm going to become too successful, they're going to notice me and take my money away from you. So now their subconscious mind knows that success equals danger, so they never become successful, because the only sole purpose of your subconscious mind is to make sure you are alive. So anything that considers a slight danger, like if the money is danger, or it can bring some relationships that dangerous or whatever, if that is what your subconscious think. No matter how hard you try consciously, no matter how hard you try physically, there's always going to be the threshold which when you reach, going to nullify you. You know, you're gonna go back to that level. You're never gonna go. That's why people talking about, you know, how you call it, glass ceilings or some constraint that that's a subconscious mind, all right? A lot of stuff that you think are mysterious or you don't really understand, or the way you react to the world, or you know, the way your relationships with the people that are important to you, if something is not going the way you want it and you don't understand why is it exactly you react this way or that way, that's a subconscious problem, and it's actually not so hard to fix if you know what you're doing. And if you guys are interested, because there's a plenty people who actually like been messaging me and asking if I have a website or what is it that I'm doing, and they want to learn. I did the short PDF. It's literally like 8 pages where I describe what I do, how it works, so you can actually implement it and start, you know, utilizing those knowledge that I spent 7 years building, right? It's not like I've been doing it from yesterday. 7 years. I had over 400 students that are actually went through my educating program that learned that, and now they're working with Russians, and they, you know, they all Russian speaking people, but some of them are outside of Russia now or whatever. I have thousands of people that are use those methods and it helped them, and I actually, you know, did kind of big impact on the Russian speaking community, but I had to let it go because it just doesn't work, you know. And more than that, the government agency that is there in Russia, they blocked my YouTube channel because I've been saying a lot of truth. And because I did my YouTube channel in Russia, they had, I registered there, they had an authority over it. So they just blocked it. So imagine I had in YouTube, I had like 30,000 subscribers, gone. So I've been going through that, you know, working with the air. Like I've been trying to build the sand castles with the people that are, you know, not so reliable. And I'm not doing it anymore. I'm in America. I have the best people here. I have people that, I'm telling you, I'm so happy to do the content for you guys, because the way you just react for the whole this time that I've been doing this whole like for a month now, right? I've been making content for a month for you guys. I have about 22,000 subscribers in Facebook, have about 8.5 subscribers in my TikTok, or 9,500 in TikTok, have about almost 5,000 in my Instagram, and this is just for the 1 month. And the amount of people who actually supports me, and they, you know, tell me thank you, and they take their time writing something down to my, you know, inbox, my DM, my messages, and they write great stuff. They, you know, they either want to help me somehow, or they just show that they appreciate me, and this is amazing. That's how I wanted it to be from the start, but instead I was making content for like almost 10 years, right? For those other audience, the Russian audience. And I gained about 10,000 subscribers in my Instagram, and I gained about 25 or 30,000 subscribers in my YouTube. Then the YouTube got banned, then the Instagram got banned, and I have nobody. And more than that, even when I would give them the most useful information, most for free, just like sharing it with them, there is a small percentage, maybe a couple percent of people that would be actually grateful, and the rest of the people would just, you know, would find a way to tease me or bully me or say that something is wrong with my face or with my hair or whatever. And just for the comparison, for the whole thing that I'm doing and the millions of views that I'm getting, I got probably about couple of those, you know, negative comments from people. You just pure-hearted people, Americans. You're just great people, and I hope that I'm going to be a great use for you, because I know I want to be useful. I know this world, you know, this universe is actually rewarding you by being useful, and I'll provide a lot of value. I provided a lot of value for Russians or Russian-speaking people, I'm ready to provide even more value for you guys, because you are the best. You are the people that are actually sympathetic to other people. You actually care. You actually have a great big heart, and it's amazing most of the times. But I think you guys, especially those people that are very, very, very kind, you have to be a little bit more careful with it to people that are not like Americans, because I'm gonna just raise up this theme and I'm gonna finish the video. Because, for example, people that are coming from the very other part of the world, that are, for example, illegal immigrants, and you guys as Americans, you are, you want those people to have a great life. Understand that a lot of those people that come from, bad places, they don't know nothing else but badness. They know nothing else but badness. They know only destruction. They know only robbery, some bad things. So you have to be careful, because if you are an illegal immigrant, there is not much stuff you can do legally. You're already illegal, so they do illegal stuff. So when I see a lot of Americans, they protesting and they want illegal people to stay here, I don't think it's very right, and I think it's very dangerous. Because if you look to the Europe, a lot of illegal people come there, they rob, they rape, they stab. It's not good. A lot of illegal people came in Russia, same stuff. Whenever you allow for illegal people to infiltrate the country and be illegal, they're gonna do illegal stuff, and this is not good, okay? So all that compassion, all that, love that you have, use it, help your family, help the people that good-hearted people. Don't assume everybody is good-hearted, because evil is real, and not everybody is good-hearted. But there's another part. I think that everybody is born good-hearted, and then during their stages of living, they got traumatized. And I believe that the trauma or some emotion is energy. I don't believe that I know it's for the fact it's the energy. And we know, Einstein said that energy doesn't disappear. It just changes the form. So when, for example, a child been born and the child been abused, and he never seen nothing but the pain and suffering, and his mother maybe was a drug abusing, coke fiend or something, that child becomes traumatized internally. And all that pain that he holds onto him, he's inflicting it into the world, because he doesn't know anything else. But I think it can be solved by the emotional processing, by going deep into the subconscious mind and finishing the program that was there, releasing that energy. That's what my system is about. It's about that. And I think it can solve, I genuinely believe that it can help to solve and bring the crime rate down. And also I think it can help with the situation that we have in school, right? When there's a shooting happening in school, I think it's very awful. And I think the only reason that it happens is that the child had all that trauma with him or with she for so long that they decided to do that. And I don't think it would have happened if the child would have a safe way to distress that energy, to release that, because as soon as he would release that, the tension would have been gone, and there would be no need to commit such awful things. And you guys are actually surprised that a lot of you have been saying that I need to go and talk to schools and talk to congresses and be a politician. Before becoming the politician, I have to become very rich, okay? Because there is a goal of mine to become very rich. And I think when you become very rich, then you can become a politician, a good politician. Because when you figure out the money and you've been in the game for a long time, you build those necessary skills that will make you successful in the government. Look at Donald Trump. Amazing, successful businessman. He came in, he doesn't need no money, he got his money, he's focusing purely on working out as a president and making this country great again. And I respect him for that. And I think he's the best guy, best man. Like I've been saying that if I'd been into the tattoos, I'd probably put the, you know, Trump's picture right here on my chest. That's how much I respect him as a man, how much I love him, because what he did for this country is amazing. It's amazing and it's going to be better, and I hope all those people that are hating on him right now, they will actually sooner or later realize how great he was, but they just buy into the, you know, media narrative that wants to show he's bad. I promise you he's not that bad. He's a great person, and I think that must be actually the like the thing, like the requirement for the president is to be successful in the business. If the president, if the guy that is successful in the business, very successful, and he becomes a president, I think that's what it looks like. Because Donald Trump is very successful, he became a president, and he's doing a great job. And nobody else were able to do, not even as half, as a quarter of what he's doing. Like, I always thought that the presidents are kind of useless, like they kind of like just there and they don't really do nothing, and I was wondering if it's really that hard that people has to be useless. Turns out it all depends on the person. It's just the first real person that get to the office and he start doing real shit, you know, and you can see how everything is changes in the best ways possible. Maybe, yeah, it causes some temporary, you know, discomfort, but I promise you long term what he does is going to be great and is going to be amazing. So just like that, guys, if you support me, if you love me from what I'm like sharing with you, because I see a lot of love and I appreciate it with all my heart, and I love you back, guys. But if you know, see some opportunities for me that I might not know, like some people reaching out to me and say, hey, you should go to this podcast and you should talk with that person and you should go there. If me myself will reach out to somebody and say, you know what, let us do the podcast, I will look needy. But if you guys will reach out to somebody and say, you know what, there is a guy and he's doing this and this is his social media and I think you guys can do that, that will give me much more credibility, and that will actually make the podcast host or whoever it is interested, and they might connect with me and we might do that. So if you want to see me somewhere, you know, reach out on my behalf and, you know, leave your name there, so I know who did that, so I can say thank you to you later. And by the way, so you just not forget, the link down below, there is a simple link, you put your email there, your name, and I'm going to send you that short PDF, the booklet about my subconscious framework, my emotional processing, the hypnogenesis that I call it, that I've been working over 7 years. It's a simple structure that you can read through and you will see how your patterns works. Like you will see yourself and your life and also the other people around you from a very different perspective. You will get to know your emotional intelligence skill will rise very much, and it's free. I hope you love this video. I love you guys. Thanks for all the support. Links down below. I appreciate you. God bless America and God bless your family. Bye.